Hi. I do not know where this year has gone, but I am not complaining because we are officially in fall. This is my favorite time of year and especially my favorite time for reading. And if there's any season that can pull me out of reading something that feels like it has been going on for damn near a year at this point, it is fall because I just love fall books. I love the cozy vibes. I love the spooky vibes. You guys know I love thrillers. I love just like anything that fits with the fall season. So that has really gotten me back into reading over this last month. I managed to read, I think, 5 books. So I think we officially kicked the reading slump. I'm so excited about it. But yeah, it's been a while since I hopped on here. So I just wanted to come on and do a chatty little reading wrap up for the month of September. So let's get into it. Whenever people are talking about fall reading, fall books, books with those fall vibes, the first one that always comes to mind for me is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I read it a year or maybe 2 years ago now, and I'm telling you, since the moment I closed the book, I have just been like chasing the high that I felt whenever I read it. So I have been looking for other books that are similar, books that have the same sort of vibes, and one book that I've seen over and over going around on different lists is The Truants by Kate Weinberg. And I understand now that I read it why people say that it's similar, because it is in a lot of ways. The Secret History, you know, has this like dark academia sort of setting. It's set at a college around, you know, students that are part of this very like artsy department subject matter, and there's a lot of inner workings to the friend group, a lot of drama, just very complex characters. There's like a professor that's involved in the mix that makes things more interesting, and you have like a larger than life male character, and it's a lot, you know, really involved with like obsession and just like art and beauty and all of that, and you get all of that in The Truants, but it is just a little bit different of a vibe. So the main character in this story's name is Jess, and she is absolutely obsessed with this woman named Lorna. Lorna is an author. She wrote a book actually called The Truants, and she is going to be teaching a course at Jess's college, a literature course that kind of deals with obsession. It's very heavily based on Agatha Christie. It's a very like pretentious, specific literature course that she kind of has to fight her way to get into, and it honestly sounded like a class I would have loved to take. I'm calling it pretentious, but I'm like, oh no, that's the kind of stuff that I love. So that's a big part of the story, is just getting into that class, kind of developing this relationship with Lorna. She is truly like obsessed with her. It's one of those like, does she want to be her? Does she want her sort of things? Like, we don't even really know. She's just enamored by her, really looks up to her. So they do sort of develop a bit of a relationship, and I think it's a little bit different in England, maybe just because like the drinking age is younger, and Lorna is a younger professor, but she, you know, just does start seeing her out and about, like at the pubs, at the parties and stuff. So she gets kind of involved in Jess's friend group, and Jess's friend group, like The Secret History, and like I said, is just kind of complicated. She has her best friend Georgie, who's like the party girl, kind of pushes everyone outside of their comfort zone, gets into a little bit of trouble with her drug use and her partying, and then she's got a sweet boy in the group named Nick that like has feelings for her, and then this sort of wild card guy named Alec that is from South Africa shows up and just kind of mixes up everything, all of the dynamics of the group. It's so almost like a love pentagon. Like I don't even know. It's just lots of drama, lots of inner workings, lots of twisted relationships within the group, and you just kind of see everything start to unravel. Like things just get more and more complicated, and you see it all through Jess's point of view, so you're kind of like in her shoes, and it was very interesting. I do have to say The Secret History feels a little more fall to me than The Truants. So Secret History is set in Vermont, The Truants is set in England, but part of the story does take place in Malta, like on this island, and so it almost gave me summary vibes for the last half of the book, so I feel like you could kind of read it in either season, but I mean, The Secret History has just yet to be beat for me. This book, I don't know, like The Truants was good, don't get me wrong. If you like Secret History, totally recommend reading this. If it sounds interesting, I recommend reading it, but to me, this was like the starter dose before you jump into this book. It was a lot more simple of a story. It was a lot kind of shorter and faster of a story. And it's a good step into this kind of vibe, this dark academia sort of book that, you know, if you haven't read something like that before, I think this is a good place to start. I had a good time. I read it very quickly because I wanted to know what was going on, but I did feel like the ending and what kind of came out of it, it felt like it built and built and then it sort of just fizzled out for me a little bit towards the end, and I was just left a little bit unsatisfied. I just kind of finished it like, Like, I just don't feel like it's one of those books that's gonna stick with me, that I'm gonna continue to think about and like wonder what happened and what was going on. Like, I did feel that in the moment, but I don't know that it's one of those that like really, really sticks with you in the way that The Secret History does. But regardless, I did enjoy it. I do recommend it. So next, I really just wanted to lean into those fall vibes. I have seen this book floating around for a while now. The cover is just stunning. It just felt like something that I needed to read. It is Wayward by Amelia Hart. This is truly a perfect fall book. It is witchy, it's cozy. You just feel like just want to like go to a cottage and sit and like read in the garden and light a candle and snuggle up with a blanket when you're reading it. Basically, this story follows 3 different women that are from 3 different generations. One from the 1600s. It is this single unmarried woman named Alta that has been accused of witchcraft. You're seeing her story going on. And then you're following Violet, who is a woman in the 1940s that has kind of an interesting family dynamic with a lot of expectations on her, but in a time where women don't have as many rights as they do now. And then you're following the main character, whose name is Kate, in 2019, present day, and her situation that she is in with an abusive man. So it sounds like 3 very different things going on, but at the same time, all of their stories have a lot of similarities, which is kind of the point. You know, like, women, times change and things get better, but like at the core, women for all of time have kind of been facing the same struggles and the same just expectations from society. And it's really interesting to watch it unfold because it feels like 3 very separate stories, but as you kind of work your way through, you understand how they're all connected. And I have to say, if you're in a mood where you're like hating men right now, this is a great book for you. I don't know if that'll make it better or worse, but it's a book about, very heavy on the feminism, very heavy on just like abuse in relationships, which if that's something that you don't want to read about, I would totally avoid this book because it's a very, very big subject within it. But just, you know, the unequal power of men and women, just how women have been viewed over time. It obviously deals with witchcraft and how women have been accused of witchcraft in the past. And but it's a very empowering story. Like, I felt very just like, go women as I was reading it, and it made me feel good when I finished it. And again, it has those witchy vibes, it has those cozy cottage vibes. It was a very easy read. It's not a romance. If you're looking for some type of, you know, fluffy romance story, that's really not even, I mean, you do see relationships with men in the book, but not super happy ones. It's really focused on the women, which is a good change because I feel like most books that I read have some type of romance, and it's just kind of nice sometimes to have a change. So definitely a great book for fall. It was fun. Yeah. Next up, you guys know I couldn't get through a fall month, or really any month, without reading a thriller, and this thriller that I read has to be one of the best ones that I have read in a very long time, if not the best one that I've read this year. I've read quite a few good ones, but I just love when authors find a new way to tell a story. I love a book with an interesting structure, and that is totally what I got out of this book. It was called The Maid's Diary by Lorith Ann White. This book, I don't even know how to explain it because I highly recommend going into it blind. Like, don't go and look at reviews and stuff, and I'm gonna try my best to kind of explain it without giving anything away, but pretty much, you know, when the story opens that a murder has taken place, and you're seeing this entire story through so many different eyes. You know, basically there is this old woman that lives in this house. She's on hospice care. She lives in the attic, and all she does all day is watch people. She just like people watches, and she sees something suspicious happen at this house across the street. And so you see the story from the point of view, I mean, you see it through that old woman's eyes when it happens, but then you see it through the point of view of the detective that is on this case. This woman shows up at the crime scene, meets all the other police officers, and just sees like an insane scene. It is this house owned by this very wealthy couple. It's like a totally glass house that's just like huge. Again, like a very rich family lives there, and nothing about the scene makes sense. Like there's just a lot of different like pieces of evidence everywhere, and there's just like blood all over the place, and nobody knows what happened. So now it's like, okay, piecing together what happened here. You know, who is our victim? Who is our possible killer? Like, we just don't know. So you start very just confused from the beginning. And then you jump into the perspective of, well, so you have the maid's diary. Obviously, the whole book is called that. So you start reading diary entries from this woman who is a maid, and kind of hearing her story. And then you also hear from this woman named Daisy. She basically is from a very wealthy family. She grew up and she married this man that was an Olympic skier, and now she's just kind of like a social media influencer, basically like a socialite. So her story starts saying, you know, like 1 week before the murder, and then it gets into like 2 days before the murder, 2 hours before the murder. So you're following Daisy's point of view of like that week leading up to what happened, and then you're also seeing her husband's point of view at the same time. So like all these different points of view are coming into play. You got the maid's diary sprinkled in there, and none of it makes sense how any of it connects. Like, where does this maid fit in? Like, whose house is this? Who died? Who is a killer? How does this all go together? And just trust me when I say it's a wild ride. Like, you start to see little details that pop up in each of the perspectives, and things that are, you know, inconsistent or just don't quite make sense, and you're trying to understand like what is going to happen here. And as you start to see like other people's perspectives, you're like, okay, it wasn't them, or wait, maybe it was, or like it was just such an interesting read. Like, I couldn't put it down. I just had to know what was going to happen, and it didn't disappoint. I really, really enjoyed it. Like, it's always hard to kind of wrap up a story like this, so of course at the end you're always like, huh, like I thought it might have been this, or like it could have been done this way. But overall, I just like, I love a book that keeps me on my toes until the very end. Like, I just truly, up until the last chapter, I wasn't positive what was happening. So if you like a story with a lot of twists and turns, I really recommend this one. It was really, really fun. Next up, I finally returned to and finished this book that I started so many months ago. And it's not like it took me months to read it because I didn't like it, or because like I couldn't get through it. It was kind of the opposite. Every time I read this book, I enjoyed it so much that I just like didn't want it to end. It felt like a cozy sort of hug. I love Jessa Hastings. This is no secret. If you are not new to my channel, you know Jessa Hastings is pretty much my favorite author. She is up there. Just her style of writing, there's nobody like her. She just has this way of telling a story where you feel like you are in it. You feel like any book of hers that you are like a part of the friend group, you're best friends with the narrator. It just feels like you're having a conversation with this person. And The Conditions of Will, I think, is my favorite thing that Jessa has written. Without a doubt, the man in this book is my favorite man of Jessa Hastings, and maybe just my favorite book boyfriend ever. And that's saying a lot. I think that's showing that I am growing because, and that I'm maturing as an adult, because Julian Hates in the Magnolia Park series, adore that man, but like Sam Penny, husband material, absolute husband material. I just, yeah, I love this book. It was very, very real, heavy at times, but it just, I can't explain it. I finished it and I just couldn't stop smiling. I thought about it all night. Basically, this story follows this girl named Georgia. She is from this family that is from this small town in South Carolina. She has, there's 4 siblings in the family. She has her brother Oliver, who has always been like her best friend, her closest friend. He is gay, which has not been something that his family has been happy about. Again, from a very small town in the South, a very religious town, that has kind of brought some shame upon the family and just been an issue. for them, which is unfortunate. And then she has her older brother Tennyson and her older sister Marianne, who is like the worst character I've ever read in my entire life. I actually have never wanted to wring a fictional character's neck so bad, but she's very necessary in the story. But basically, Georgia had a bit of a scandal whenever she was in high school, which led to her getting sent away. Her parents sent her away to boarding school in England, and she has stayed there all through her teenage years. She's now an adult. She's in a master's program and a psychology program. And it's really cool actually, because she specializes in like kind of like body language and behavior. Like she can read people very well. Like she knows if someone's lying, she knows how someone feels. She can see like their little movements of their eyes and how their like eyebrows pull together and their tone of voice. And so that's a big part of the story. Like every conversation she's having, you're inside of her head, so you can see how she watches people's reactions and stuff. It's an interesting part. But anyways, she has stayed away from home happily for a long time. Her brother Oliver also left South Carolina. He went to California because obviously that wasn't really a place he wanted to be. He has gotten into trouble with alcoholism over the last few years, which has only made tensions in the family grow even higher. But now the family has to all come back together because Georgia's father has suddenly had a heart attack and passed away. So the story is basically Georgia coming home to South Carolina for the funeral and to hear about, you know, the will, how everything's being divided up. And whenever she gets there, she ends up meeting this man named Sam Penny, who is Oliver's AA sponsor, basically his like sobriety coach. So this story just kind of takes place over a couple of weeks of the events following their father's death, and just goes through all of the family dynamics, explores what happened to Georgia, the scandal of, you know, why she got sent away, what really happened with that. And it just kind of, I don't know, it's just really about family and how family is complicated and family relationships are complicated, and just trying to fit in and trying to put on an image for the world that doesn't necessarily fit what's really going on. And it just deals with every dynamic of relationships, like sibling dynamics, like parent-child dynamics, relationship dynamics. And I just loved it. I just loved it so much. And again, Sam, I love Sam. I'm gonna make an entire video where I ramble about this book for like a good 15 minutes because I could talk about it nonstop. But I think this is genuinely one of my favorite books I've ever read. Like, I think it's gonna make that all-time list. Just something about it. I love the Magnolia Park series, but something about this just like really hit for me. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm from Texas. Maybe I kind of understand in a way the small town pressures and like being from an area where religion is very prevalent and growing up with that a little bit. Like maybe it just hit extra hard for those reasons for me. And I just felt like Georgia, I just loved her as a character. Like she, to me, was my favorite female character as well that Jessa Hastings has written. I feel like she was the most relatable. Maybe again, it's just like a personal thing, but I just loved her character. I love this whole book. So yeah, this one's my baby. And I sense a reread coming sooner rather than later. And the last book that I read in the month of September, finally, was Babel by R.F. Kuang. I have seen this book going around for a long time now. People adore this book. They act like it's gonna be one of the new classics. Like people just talk so highly of it. I really didn't know anything about it. I knew that I eventually wanted to read it, but I wanted to go into it pretty blind just because, again, when books are so highly recommended, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna like try to look into anything about it. I knew generally that it was like a fantasy story. I knew it was set like in older times, that there was kind of like war involved, and I knew it obviously had to do with language just because of Tower of Babel. But that's all I knew. And I often see this book as well pop up on lists of books that are similar to The Secret History, because it does again have that academia setting, that sort of dark academia vibe to it. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect going into it or what it was going to be about. And basically what it's about is you follow this main character. He ends up taking on the name Robin Swift. He was born in Canton, and so the book is set in the 1800s, like the early, I think it's like 1820s or so is like where the main chunk of the story takes place. But it follows Robin. He's born in Canton and he becomes an orphan. His like family dies, obviously, that's what I mean by orphan. And this professor kind of shows up out of nowhere as his mother dies, his last family member, and takes Robin away, takes him to England to study. He knows like Cantonese, he knows Mandarin, and he knows some English, and so he basically offers him a deal that I will take you to England, I will like give you a place to live, a place to sleep, I will feed you, just, you know, take care of you if you agree to heavily study languages. You're gonna study Greek, you're gonna study Latin, and you're just going to continue to learn language basically, and you're going to go to Oxford. Oxford in this story, you have Babel, and that is basically like the center of translation for kind of the whole world. People go there to study many languages, like it's where people go to learn to just be translators, and I mean, that's obviously a very valuable role to have, but especially in these earlier times, like you don't have a ton of people that know a ton of languages. And so it's kind of a complicated story because I, again, didn't really know anything going into it. I thought it was going to be a fantasy, witchy sort of vibe. Like I knew that there was magic involved, so I'm thinking like, oh, we're going to Hogwarts. Like I didn't know. But really, the story is very real with just like a sprinkle of magic. So as Robin goes to Oxford, like you learn there's just a lot more to this. The magic system is, to me, it was a little, I mean, it was interesting, just the concept. I feel like the concept of this story, very interesting. If you're a person that is fascinated by language, if you like learn multiple languages, and like, it's just, I find language to be so interesting, how words connect and how, you know, root languages have developed into all these other languages. And I just think it's so amazing when people can speak multiple languages. So I feel like this book is kind of a masterpiece in the way that R.F. Kuang had to do so much research and just know so much to write this story. But yeah, kind of the basic system is that England uses silver, like uses these silver bars, and the magic comes from gaps in language. So how the same word can be used in both languages, but like two different languages, but like mean two different things, or how like there's just how basically translation isn't perfect. So like you can use these silver bars to make things happen because of the differences in language. Like it's kind of hard to explain, and honestly it was a little hard for me to grasp even because it just wasn't a super clear, like this is how it always works. Like there's just, you can come up with new like ways for magic to work with the bars, with new word pairings and stuff. And yeah, basically the whole thing is it's just like really focused on imperialism, racism. Like in the story, I mean, England kind of holds the power because they're going and they're taking these orphans from other countries that know multiple languages, and they're turning them into these translators that can then create these magical bars. And now it's like England kind of holds all the power, and they are using that as leverage to like trade with other countries and taking these people away from their countries and then not allowing their countries to reap the benefits of what they've done. It's just, it's a very complicated story. I have to say, like when it started out, it was a little slow to start. I found it interesting, kind of like in the first third, but then for me, like it just felt like a whole lot of nothing. I just felt like it was very, very slow, and I feel like there were a lot of characters that didn't have super distinct personalities, and I felt like the end was very anticlimactic. And I don't know, this is one of those situations where I feel a little crazy because people, again, like adore this book and talk about it so highly. And I can understand why. Again, I feel like I can't even imagine beginning to write a book like this, but just enjoyment level, I didn't really get it. Like I don't know. Like I finished it and I said, okay. Like I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it, and I wouldn't read it again. And I don't know that it's really gonna stick with me. I mean, it discussed very heavy, very important themes, and I think it did it in a very, I mean, it did it in a way that makes you think and really makes a lot of sense, and, you know, brings a lot of things to your attention that we get very privileged to not have to think about. And I think those aspects of the story were really good. But for me, it was just, again, the magic system didn't seem like fully fleshed out. Like I just didn't feel like it was super strong. Like I just think there could have been more to it to make it make more sense and just be a little more involved. I don't know. Again, it kind of had the dark academia vibe, so it gave me what I wanted. I did listen to it mostly on audio, which it has a fantastic audiobook. If you're gonna read it, I really recommend listening to it on audio. It's just really, really well done. The voice actor's really good. It's really engaging and like fun to listen to. So that part of it was fun, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think this one was for me. But yeah, guys, that is it. Those are the books that I read in the month of September. I honestly am more excited about reading right now than I have been in a long time. I have several books that I just like want to immediately read that I've been waiting for fall to come around, and I've just been wanting to read them. So I'm hoping that I keep this train going. Like I just want to get back into reading. I'm just like in a place now where I have time to do that. And I always just love reading in the last like quarter of the year. Like this is just always like the most fun time when you get into the holidays and all of that. So yeah, if you guys have any fall book recommendations you think I might like, I would love to hear them. Anything especially similar to The Secret History, would love. I'm definitely going to be diving into Jessa Hastings. She came out with a whole nother book in the time it took me to finish Conditions of Will, so definitely going to be reading that next. You're probably going to hear me talk about that in this next month. But yeah, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.